Salut, bonjour, and welcome to francofille, a creative podcast. My name is Devin, and this is where I document my knitting and other fiber-related crafting. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry at @bdevin. You can also find my Etsy shop-related Instagram at francofille. It's also the name of my Etsy shop where I sell my hand-dyed yarn, which I will talk about a little bit at the end of the episode. And yeah, I think that's all the relevant contact info kind of stuff up front. There's links to just about everything down below in the description, including all of the show notes sort of things. So links to project pages on Ravelry and yarn and all that kind of stuff. It's been a couple weeks since my last episode. I think it's been 2 weeks. I'm trying to do every 2 weeks for my episodes, and it's been a fairly busy couple of weeks, amazingly enough. I've gotten a lot of really good knitting done, gotten some good dyeing done, which is exciting. I got a new toy for the yarn dyeing, so it's kind of been fun playing around with that. Before we get into what I've been doing, I went through and kind of reevaluated my UFOs, my unfinished objects. There's an entire shelf on one of our bookshelves that is just project bags full of unfinished hand knits, and yesterday I actually went ahead and frogged one of them. It was a design I had been working on for a while that just wasn't working the way I wanted it to, so I decided to go ahead and frog it, recaked it, and I'm gonna turn it into something else. It was all done in one color. I decided I pulled in a couple other colorways to go with it. I'm gonna do something more fun, more interesting, something that hopefully will hold my attention a little bit better. And as I was doing that, I kind of decided that at least for the beginning part of the year, I'm going to try and focus on having one big whip and one small whip that I'm actively working on at a time. As much fun as it is sometimes to bounce around from project to project to project, I think this will be a little bit more satisfying for me. You know, something small that can be portable if I want, or, you know, if I'm really not wanting to have something huge in my lap, or, you know, if I'm doing like the sock club patterns and things like that, like that'll be my small whip. And then something big like a sweater or a shawl or something like that is my larger whip. So I've definitely been doing that for the last 2 weeks, and it's been a really kind of satisfying way of working. So I think once I finish my current large whip, I may revisit that shawl that I frogged. Anyway, all that is a lot of rambling to explain where I'm at. So yeah, actually, maybe rather than starting with whips, I'll start with my only finished object for the week. And it had been my small whip for the last 2 weeks, basically, until yesterday when I finally finished it. And it is my January sock club socks. I think I mentioned last episode when I was talking about it that I wanted something kind of moody and dark, warm, cozy, that kind of thing going on. Went with jewel tones for January, and these are the resulting socks. I knit them toe up. You can see there's like this Aran style motif on the front of them. I'm gonna attempt to show you in a reasonable way what they look like. This is the front of the sock. It's just got these big diamonds that run all the way up. These are actually, I think, the longest socks, like in terms of leg length, that I've ever knit. I tend to give up on my leg about there, usually, about there. And I actually really like this length, now, like after having tried them on. So I may be knitting longer legs on my socks. But if we get a little closer, you can see it's kind of got this granite stitch motif inside of the diamond. And yeah, I'm really quite pleased with the way they turned out. If you would like this yarn and pattern, there are a couple more left in the the Etsy shop. Just kind of really enjoy how they turned out. They are knit, like I said, toe up. Usually my sock patterns are cuffed down. I wanted to change it up. I included an afterthought heel. So I've been working on writing up the pattern. I'm gonna have that out to the sock club participants this evening. I'm really excited about that. Just need to get a couple more pictures and it should be good to go. So the colorway name is Bijoux, which is gems in French. And then they're just my diamond socks. Nothing crazy or complicated about the pattern name this time around. Yeah, I just kind of wanted a straightforward knit, straightforward pattern for January. And I really enjoy them. I think they're really pretty. January. Finished those yesterday and basically immediately cast on my next small whip. You know, following the tradition of when you cast something off or bind something off, you cast something new on, right? And I've had this sad little frogged cake of artichoke on my MCN base since August. I originally cast it on in August, end of July, beginning of August, when I was visiting Jordan when he was out in Ithaca as a hat and the colorway just did not want to be a complex hat, and I didn't feel like knitting like a sock hat or something like that. So it's just been sitting next to me on my side table by my side of the couch, waiting until I found the right inspiration. And I decided it needs to be mittens. I don't know, I have mittens on the brain right now. And so I just kind of decided to mess around, and I am just doing some simple mittens. I'm working on the cuff right now in this twisted stitch motif, and I'm really kind of loving it. I personally really enjoy when colorworks, or when like a variegated colorway gets that spiral going. I think that's kind of fun. And I think for a larger stitch pattern like this, it works out well. You can still see the stitch pattern while it's super variegated. I think if it were pooling differently, they would compete too much. But I think with the stitch pattern as it is, the spiraling variegation, they don't compete, right? You still get the best of both worlds. So I don't know if I'm gonna write up the pattern for this. It's literally just like I cast on some stitches for the cuff, started going, and then pulled a motif out of a stitch dictionary. Like, it's really, I don't know, but we'll see. What else to say? This is actually my first time really working with the base, other than my first attempt at making a hat with this same skein of yarn, and it is glorious. I really, really am enjoying it. It's just, I mean, it's a cashmere base, you know, it's an MCM base. What's not to enjoy about that? I haven't dyed this colorway up in a very long time either. And I'm really kind of enjoying the really pale green and gray, the way the two of those things just kind of mix together, and then you get that pop of really dark, muted purple. It's definitely my kind of color palette, where it's colorful, there are colors, but they're muted. Like, that is me. So we'll see how these progress, what I decide to do. Like, I'm literally making these up as I go. I think these are gonna end up being samples for, you know, when I do shows or trunk shows, that kind of thing. These are going to be a store sample, because I don't actually need another pair of mittens at the moment, but I really want to make more mittens. That's where I'm at. Oh, really enjoying these. Sometimes I think twisted stitches, like twisted stitch patterns, are really, I don't know, underappreciated. They are some of my favorite things to do. Just like that 1x1 left twist, right twist thing. Really effective and really beautiful in my mind. They're some of my favorites to knit. Right? And you guys know me, I love me a twisted rib. They're a pain. Especially if you don't do them all the time, they can be a real pain to knit, but they just look so good. I have found myself like unable to knit just a plain 1x1 rib anymore, because it just does not. For me, they don't turn out well. It doesn't look right. It looks messy now. I'm so addicted to the twisted rib. It just looks so nice and clean. All right, like if I flip it inside out, right, because this ends up looking like a 1x1 regular rib, right? The way the knit stitches kind of pull apart, oh, I hate it. It drives me nuts. I really don't like the way that looks now. So twisted rib. That is the solution. And it just looks so pretty. So I'm working on these. These are my small knit. And what else to say? I'm using my absolute favorite needles. These are Chiaogu's. Super, for me, they're about as pointy as I can use. Hayas just are too much, because I adjust a lot with the tip of my finger. So any sharper than that, any pointier than that, and I can't knit for very long. It just hurts too much. What else? Oh, I originally started these out on some wooden Knit Picks DPNs that I have, that I actually switched over to a whip that's languishing just a smidge. My Christmas socks for Dad. But they're only 5-inch long DPNs, and I kept stabbing myself in the palm of the hand as I knit, and it was just driving me crazy. So apparently I cannot knit really with 5-inch DPNs. I need to go to 6-inch, just for comfort's sake. Things you discover as you knit obsessively. The yarn sad cake is currently living in one of my yarn bowls too, which was a gift from a former student. Right? Perfect size. So that is whip number 1. All right, so my other whip this week, my big whip that I'm currently working on, and it is a big whip, is a winter sole sweater. Guys, I'm knitting a giant colorwork sweater. This is so outside of my normal wheelhouse, but I'm loving every second of it. The yoke was just the most fun. I'm gonna fold it in half to make it actually reasonable to show you. I'm knitting a size, I think 46 or 48, because the pattern calls for a couple inches of positive ease. So yeah, it ends up being kind of huge, but here it is folded in half. I'm obsessed. This pattern is amazing. It just recently came out, I think, at the end of 2017. It is by Jennifer Steingass, who is at Knit Love Wool. She's got a couple colorwork sweater patterns out, and they are all amazing. They're all gorgeous. Like I said, this is so completely outside of my normal knitting wheelhouse. What happened was, actually, I'm just gonna keep holding this up so you can continue to admire my handiwork. I was visiting my folks for the holidays, right? We went up there for New Year's, and the day I was supposed to go home, we ended up getting a big snowstorm that kind of stretched from my parents' house to where we live, to my house. It's only about 2 hours away. But I did not really want to risk driving in the snow in my little 2-wheel drive Ford Focus. It just was not gonna be a good call. I decided to spend an extra night at home, and while the snow wasn't as bad in Chicago, it cleared up there. It continued to snow in Indiana, so I stayed home, or stayed at mom and dad's, and decided to drag mom to one of the local yarn stores, to String Theory Yarn Company in Glen Ellen, and kind of went a little crazy. I was looking around the store and was just drawn to their supply of Peace Fleece, which I had never actually seen up close and personal before, and knew immediately when I saw their selection that I needed to do some sort of sweater with it, right? Like, it was the only thing to be done. They had it seriously was the hardest thing picking colors. I was really specific with my color choice. I wanted something so that I could wear the sweater with both black pants and blue jeans. I was kind of looking through, and I wanted like a 3-color project, and I wanted something that, yeah, like I said, I could wear with either jeans or black pants. Wanted colors that were definitely gonna have enough contrast between them, and I grabbed this selection, and I could not be happier with it. So the main color, like most of the sweater, is gonna be this gray color. It is Gray Rabbit, and which one is this? This is their 80-20 blend. It's a worsted weight. The blends on each 3 of these are a little bit different, which I don't think I realized until just this moment. The yardage is the same though. But yeah, so the gray is riveting podcasting as I peel price tags off of labels. All right, so the gray is 80-20 merino and mohair. I don't know if I've ever knit with mohair before. That kind of explains the halo. So merino and mohair. This one is 75-25 merino mohair. This is the Antarctica white colorway. And then the red is a 75-25 blend. It's 75% merino and rambouillet and 25% mohair. And this is the Amaranth colorway. It's a gorgeous deep red. It's just been so much fun. I was terrified it was gonna be way too big when I initially cast on, because like I said, it's got a couple inches of positive ease, and you know, I'm okay with that actually, that it was gonna be huge, like really kind of comfy and swim on it a little bit for most of the body, but I was really worried about the neckline kind of being too big and too loose and too open. So I added 2 extra rounds here in just the red, and then the pattern calls for this I-cord bind off for the neckline, and that just kind of cinched everything up, made it really, really solid, and I think it's just gorgeous. So a tip of the hat to Jen on that one, because that's brilliant. And yeah, I've got my little lifeline in where I finished the color work, and now I'm just kind of going to town knitting on the body. I've already also divided off for sweaters and body, and now I'm just kind of, like I said, just kind of going for it. The construction on this is also really unique, where you actually do a provisional cast on here where I've got the lifeline now, and then knit the yoke up from that provisional cast on, and then the rest of the body is knit down from the provisional cast on, which I don't know that I've ever seen before, but I don't knit a ton of sweaters, so I don't know how crazy unique that is, or if I'm just unaware, but it was really, I don't know, it was kind of fun, kind of cool. And I think just with the way the color work works in this, doing decreases instead of increases maybe just made more sense. But yeah, it was really fun. This is my first color work yoke. I don't know, it definitely could use a good block. Oh, and the other thing, I know sometimes I was personally kind of hesitant to put red and white right next to each other. I was a little nervous after I bought the yarn and kind of thought about what I was doing. So I knit my swatch in the red and washed it and all that to make sure to see if the red would bleed at all, and it didn't release any dye, so I'm feeling pretty confident. We'll see if that comes back to bite me in the ass or not. Excuse my language. This is gonna take me a while, I have no doubt, but I'm really enjoying every stitch. The merino mohair blend is actually really delightful to work with. So Winter Soul, really great pattern. especially for a sweater newbie like me. I'm finding it very approachable. I mean, not sweater newbie. This is actually my 4th sweater. I was thinking about that the other day. I feel like I never knit sweaters. It's not a thing I do, but I actually have one finished one. I knit a Clark pullover last year. I've got a breathing space sweater that is a little bit of a UFO. I need to finish the sleeves on. Love the sweater. Knitting sleeves is boring. Real talk. And then I've got a portage cardigan that I haven't worked on in like a year, which is sad because it's a beautiful pattern. I think maybe with that one I'm gonna need to switch needles and maybe I'll enjoy the process a little bit more. I've done a fair deal of sweater knitting, so maybe it's time that I stop calling myself a sweater knitting newbie. First colorwork one. This one is really fun. Highly recommend. Other than that, oh, I wanted to show you another little toy. I don't think I showed this last week on the podcast, but I think I mentioned that I am reworking my dad's Christmas socks. So this is the first sock all finished, right? Lots of ribbing. He tried it on and it fit fine. He was a little nervous because it looks small because it's ribbed, but Dad likes really long socks in the leg. He was really sweet. He was going to take them as is, but I decided I would add to the leg to make it a little bit more appropriate, more the length he likes. So I frogged the second sock that I had been knitting on and started all over again and added 2 more big stripes to the leg. So hopefully those will fit him a little bit more like he likes. I've got to figure out what I'm going to do for this finished one, whether I want to, you know, undo everything or if I'm going to do some knitting surgery and basically maybe snip off the top stripe here and just go up and treat it as if it were a cuff or a toe up sock instead of a cuff down. I don't know. That's going to take a little bit of brain power, a little bit of concentration, and I'm not quite ready for that. But what I did want to show you was this fun little yarn caddy thing that I got for Christmas, where you just kind of take the ball of yarn, stick it in the middle, or, you know, stick it on here, and it just pulls off, which is nice. If I weren't holding it funny, it would actually spin, but the angle is weird and all that. So just a fun little tool thing that I found. My family was very confused about what it was until I had to actually actively show them what it is, because this just looks confusing. They had no idea how this could remotely be a knitting related thing. Yeah, so that is everything that I've been working on recently or am currently working on. All right, time for some shop update stuff. Like I said, I got a couple new toys that showed up this last week. I got some larger roasting pans. I have a very specific way of how I place skeins in my trays as I dye them and all that. In my old ones, I could get 2 at a time, which really limited how much I could dye. Now I can get 4 in comfortably the way I like. So I decided to experiment a little bit with my new equipment. And yeah, I brought back some older colorways and dyed up some new ones too. So let's just kind of dive in and see what I've done. Along the lines of a new colorway, I've got oiseau, French for bird. This is on my Loire or MCN base. And it says really gorgeous neutral with pops of both blue and orange. So the variegation is in this really gorgeous sort of medium brown colorway, kind of like a dark tea color. And the gray is this really beautiful, like light silvery blue gray. And there's some areas where it almost fades all the way to cream. It's really, really pretty. And then there are just pops, really lightly speckled. What kind of light with the speckling on this? You get some orange in there. There's some blue. Really pretty. I'm really thrilled with how this turned out. Really cozy. And you guys know me and my love of neutrals. This is gorgeous. Kind of love it with orange. Right, that dark charcoal gray I've got. This is also on MCN. I think it really balances it nicely, makes the lighter areas of variegation really, really pop next to there. I think it works well against the brown too. Kind of like it with sable as well, or sand. Right, that nice light camel sort of color. I'm just kind of having fun pairing it with what I've got in front of me. It's kind of interesting with by candlelight too. The 2 browns kind of complement each other nicely. So next, I brought back Guimauve, which I haven't dyed up since I think last spring, like February, March, last winter. This is really pretty pale pink colorway with kind of pops of darker dusty rose kind of pink. Really pretty. I love the way this dye breaks because you get a couple pops of like hot pink in there too. It's really cool. I've seen a couple socks and stuff knit up in this from last year when people bought it last year, and it's just so pretty and so sweet, really soft and feminine. I've got it on both MCN and Chaussette, my sock base. There you can see one of the times the dye broke and kind of gave off hot pink. Really pretty, really sweet. It's girly without being kind of aggressively girly. I don't know, I like it. C'est très girly. I do appreciate that French has just kind of imported girly directly. It's really kind of cool with Merlot. I just saw that. And then I personally love it with Orage. That was one of my combinations last year I really loved. That dark charcoal with the cream and pink, really good. I love that. That's just really sweet together too. Guimauve and by candlelight is adorable. I love that. A really pretty shawl. Aha, this is a new one. This was a new one I was experimenting with. This is en amoureux, right, which is kind of like romantic or intimate, an adjectival phrase for like, sorry, that was a hardcore grammar teacher sort of thing. You use it kind of like an adjective to modify like situations. So like you could have un dîner en amoureux for like an intimate dinner, or un séjour en amoureux for like a romantic weekend or romantic getaway. Or it really kind of is strongly implying that it's just two people who are in love, who are doing said activity, right? Having dinner or going away. So en amoureux, wanted a really sweet, like a, I don't know, this is to me a very romantic colorway. I love that really dark sort of rose sort of color, really dark pink. Yeah, it's kind of so like one of those dark pinks that's almost purple, if that makes sense. And then you get some speckling of really dark purple, green. Should be some speckling of like a really gorgeously dark coffee caramel brown sort of color. Kind of all swirled in there. Gold to balance it out as well. Love this. It's absolutely gorgeous. Got it on MCN as well. This is on my Loire base. Really, really pretty. Love this again. I mean, for me, everything pairs well with Orage. I can't really think of many colorways that don't pair well with a really dark, like charcoal gray, almost black. That is me. Love those. Really strong contrast there. Like even where there's less contrast, it's still pretty. Really nice if you want to, I mean, when I think of like combinations, I'm always thinking like what would work for two color brioche, and I think this would pop really well. And that is en amoureux. I've got, denim, right? Denim. So fun fact that denim comes from Denim, from Nîmes, which is a city in the south of France, which is where I guess denim was originally produced. Nîmes is a really cool city. It's still got like this giant, Parthenon is Greek. It's like it used to be a temple, but it's like in the middle of Nîmes, in the middle of the city. What do they call it? C'est la Maison Carrée, I think. I don't remember. It's gorgeous. Beautiful fountains in front of it. So the south of France is really kind of, you get a ton of like literal Roman architecture down there. And that's, I don't know, to me, like that is what I remember most about Nîmes. But yeah, I kind of wanted something for like these dirty sort of blue jeans, right? There's a really pale beige color throughout, really nice dark blue to faded blue, and then speckled with like almost like a chartreuse in there. A really vivid like green yellow kind of color, and then dark purple. So it's kind of messy, kind of dirty looking, which is awesome. Get the blue in there. I love this colorway. I'm a little bit obsessed, and I'm having to hold myself back from stealing all of it. I love the micro speckling though. Just the way the color breaks there, it's so good. So this is denim. Again, looks great with my favorite pairs. It's actually pretty fabulous with Merlot as well. Check that out. I like that a lot actually. I don't know, I like kind of playing around and finding like balancing tonals for these crazy variegated speckles. Two more. Oh, I'm sorry, Lucy. Somebody decided she needed to make her appearance. She needs cuddles. So happy. All right, last of the new ones. Again, kind of obsessed with this one. Was playing around again with some new techniques and the new pans and all that kind of stuff. And this is teacup. So my mom's got this porcelain teacup that is green and gold and has these really pretty little pink flowers in the middle of it. And that was the inspiration for this one. So you get those variegation of gold and like that really pretty sage green color and cream. And then I've kind of speckled it kind of heavily a little bit. I went hard on the pinks, the speckling on this one. So you get some dark pinks, you get some hot pink, you kind of get some medium in there too, and it just kind of all blends together. I really, really love it, right? So teacup en amoureux, denim, and oiseau. These are the four new ones. I really love them. Guimauve is back. And then last but not least, I dyed up some more Madame de Pompadour, which I don't think I've dyed up since like May. So this one, put all these gorgeous things down. I really was going for like tonal and speckled this week. Love this one. So cream and gray and peach and pink, all with like tons of bright blue speckles. So gorgeous. Madame de Pompadour was, excuse my language, but she was like a badass bitch. She was mistress to Louis the 15th, and like beyond just kind of like being his mistress, she managed to schedule. She was a really influential advisor. She held salons and was a patron to Enlightenment thinkers like Voltaire, right? Like she was legit. And she was super smart about it too. Like she made sure to never alienate the queen while she was doing this. Like she knew what was up. And so there's this really famous portrait of her where she's wearing this really beautiful like gray and cream dress with these really pretty pink ribbons. She's got her hair powdered and pulled back because of course, you know, it's the 18th century. She's got these beautiful like cornflower blue flowers in her hair, and there's like another ribbon and really rosy cheeks, and it's like exactly these colors. It's really cool. The skein is not really, the way it's twisted up, you're not really seeing the colors very well. It's mostly white here, but I open it up, you can see actually there's a lot more color going on, right? It's just kind of the magic of twisting up yarn. Sometimes you don't end up seeing it, but there's, right? I kind of love the way the gray and the pink and the peach kind of all play together. You get some pops of gray, still plenty of white. I personally like a lot of white left in my variegated colorways. I think it adds fun and interest and depth as it knits up, right? Like with this, right? You get those little light lines and stuff. Like it's just where it's been a little bit whiter, right? Like if I hold up a skein of this, right? So one of these areas here where it's a little bit whiter there, right, that gives you those lines, and I don't know, I think it makes it a little bit more interesting. So that is purposefully done, I will say. Just kind of makes life interesting. There we go, right, same skein of yarn, twisted it up differently this time, and now you get a lot more of the pinks and grays coming through instead of the cream. Oh, one random thing I do want to point out. With these skeins of yarn, I'm in a couple Facebook groups, and somebody on one of them, unfortunately, I think was having issues winding up a ball of yarn from a hank like this, right? And one of the things I do, I leave as many ties in my skeins as possible. I know some dyers like to remove them because they don't look very nice, but I want to make your life as easy as possible, right? So having a tangled skein of yarn or a skein of yarn that's not going to easily go on the Swift isn't going to make your life easy, right? So it doesn't necessarily look great, especially when I twist it up in pictures and stuff like that, right? You end up with these like, looks a little messy, you get the little ties and whatever, and they look a little weird. But that is left on so that when you put it on your skein or on your Swift, hopefully all of the yarn should be going the same direction and not get twisted, right? So when you put your hank of yarn on your Swift or on whatever it is that you're holding it still to wind your ball from, obviously, I think you guys know, never knit from it just like this. It's gonna end in heartache. They actually are kind of like belts the way that they're wound up. So like with these here, they have a little figure 8 tie. So there's 2 loops. You wanna try and spread the skein out when you're putting it on the Swift so that all of those are spread out. You get the twist going. That is gonna give you the most comfortable, the easiest ball winding experience, right? Like when it still gets caught or tangled or whatever as you're winding, it's usually because like there's a twist in the hank as it's on the Swift, right? So you've got some of it that's underneath others, right? And that's just because of the way it was put on the Swift. So if you take a second to try and fluff it up and spread it out, kind of bounce it a little bit, that should get all of the yarn going in the same direction, right? And spread out and make things easy for you. If you don't have a Swift, but you are trying to work from hand-dyed yarn, let me know if you're gonna buy from me, or you know, most dyers will offer some sort of caking for you, right? We'll cake it up for you. I know I do. It's a little drop down on Etsy. Like just select that, I'll do the work for you. That is not an issue. You know, what I used to do before I got my Swift, I'd sit with my knees up and put the thing over my knees and hand wind from there. Some people, sorry, you can't actually see that, it's off camera, will slip it over like the back of a chair, something to keep that open, right? If you have a child or a loved one who is willing to be patient, you can just have them hold it, right, while you cake from that, right? But you don't want to just set this down and try and wind a ball off of it. It's just gonna get tangled and be a nightmare. Oh yeah, so fun facts about hanks of yarn. Technically, I suppose this is a hank and not a skein. Even when it's all twisted up, it's still a hank. Common parlance is to call it a skein since it's twisted. So the other thing, for twisting yarn, some people have issues with this. What I found works really well, again, I'll just put one end on one finger, one end on the other. You'll see a little bit still hang down. That's fine as long as everything is at least going the same way and trapped correctly by the ties. Right? Hold one end still and then twist the other end. I usually put a good 6 twists in it and make it a little kinked on one side. Stick it under my chin, fold, and then open up one end as a loop and slip it over the other. Pull through, you get a little knot. That's fine, that's normal. Gotta pull it out, adjust it. I'm just like adjusting a little bit. Again, same one, and now you can see that there's like this stripe of gray. Right, you really barely see any of the speckles this time. Right, every time you twist it up, it looks a little bit different. So, fun facts from an indie yarn dyer. Lots of good stuff in the shop. Lots of, especially MCN, I kind of gone to town on it, MCN and Chaussette sock base. Oh, one other thing. I kind of had some fun with self-striping as well. I wanted a very wintry self-striping yarn, and so I came up with a little set here. So it comes with 75 grams, right, of the self-striping, 25 grams. This is on my old Paris base. It's actually the last of what I have of it. That silver stellina. So mini skein, this kind of pale silvery blue gray. I really love that. It's kind of frozen. And then the self-striping is actually really cool. I've got to find a good way to photograph it. They're stripes of blue and gray speckles. Actually, I think it's all blue. Blue speckles. You can kind of see running through there. And then white and gray. So it'll be you'll have a stripe of white for about 5 or 6 rows if you're knitting a socks. Speckles, gray, speckles, white, speckles. So every other stripe is speckles, and then it alternates white or gray. So really beautifully wintry self-striping socks. Right? A nice sparkle. I've got this also dyed up on Chaussette too, if you are interested. So yeah, that is everything going on in the shop. I'm still dyeing like a crazy person. I've actually been accepted to vend at YarnCon, which is in Chicago at the beginning of April. I believe it's the first weekend in April. So I'm trying to build up as much stock as I can before that. But yeah, so if you want to come hang out, say hi, see a ton of really awesome indie dyers, and maybe take some classes, check out YarnCon if you're in the Chicagoland region. But yeah, that's basically everything that's going on with me this week. I'm gonna get back to working on my fun little MCN mittens. These are so much fun. I really love this base. They are so soft. I may steal these for myself. We'll see. But yeah, work on those, and I will see you guys again in a couple weeks. Bon tricot, happy knitting. Bye.